And I want to thank you for attending. So tonight's quarterly meeting is going to begin with a local measures panel. So we're hosting this forum on two local measures, O and Measure A. Our regular quarterly meeting will begin just after 7. The chat function has been disabled and has video to accommodate the panelists and to reduce managing Zoom. Our membership committee wanted me to let you know that anyone who joins via our website tonight will be entered into a drawing to win one of our fabulous NWPC Sacramento t-shirts. They're really cute, you'd like them. Our moderators for tonight are Walt Yost, a journalism lecturer at Sac State, former B reporter, and he was the first reporter to give me an interview way back in the day for the Suttertown News. I'm not even going to tell you what decade that was. He will moderate Measure O, a Sacramento City proposition on homelessness. And then Steve Cohn, former council member, a colleague of mine and a friend, will moderate the second panel on Measure A, the county transit tax. Take it away, Walt.
Thank you, Lauren. Welcome to Pro-Con Forum on the City of Sacramento Measure O, which will appear on your November ballot as the Emergency Shelter and Enforcement Act. This forum is sponsored by the National Women's Political Caucus, Sacramento. As Lauren said, introduced me, I'm Walter Yost. I will be moderating the forum this evening. I do not live in the city of Sacramento. Speaking of supportive Measure A is Amanda Blackwood, CEO and President of the Sacramento Metro Chamber of Commerce. Speaking in opposition to Measure O is Mark Marin, a Sacramento civil rights attorney. The format for this forum will be as follows. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for an opening statement to make their case. Each speaker will answer questions that have been solicited in advance with 1 minute to answer. Finally, speakers will have 1 minute for a closing statement. Please watch the screen for the timer, who will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. And when your time is up, you will see a stop sign. I will be rotating who answers first between Amanda and Mark. I'd like to begin by reading the ballot language for Measure O. It will take a second. Shall the measure entitled the City of Sacramento Emergency Shelter and Enforcement Act of 2022, which requires identification of a minimum number of emergency shelter spaces based on the estimated number of homeless persons, conditions enforcement of the city's unlawful camping ordinance on shelter space availability, prohibits encampments, allows residents to bring action against the city for unlawful camping or storage on city property, and limits the city's annual general fund budget obligation to $5 million, be adopted. We will begin with an opening statement from Amanda Blackwood in support of Measure O.
Okay. Go ahead and go, Walt.
Please.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for taking the time to hear. Very interested to hear your questions as well. So I'll give my 3-minute opening in saying this. Right? This whole thing has really been born from the fact that we have experienced exponential increase. I will say from the Metro Chamber standpoint, we worked diligently with the city of Sacramento. In 2019, 2020, we were huge advocates for the comprehensive housing plan, or the comprehensive siting plan. And there were a lot of promises about what this was going to look like, how they were going to actually create additional shelter. And what we found, right, particularly from city staff, is that they were having an extremely difficult time trying to get shelter put in any neighborhood anywhere due to NIMBY behaviors. And so therefore, the city of Sacramento really wanted a tool so that the city manager and staff have the ability to actually create shelter locations. And then once they do, they can enforce acceptable behaviors. So know that this has all been born in the original idea of, we've asked for shelter, we've asked for housing. I deeply feel with Mark and his folks that the demand for shelter and housing and permanent supportive housing is very real. However, we just did not see them act. There was a lot of promises, there were a lot of press conferences, but then to get a comprehensive siting plan that wasn't even vetted and none of it came to fruition really created a awareness that we're going to have to mandate that shelter is created or it's not going to happen. Yes, enforcement. Yes, business wants enforcement. Yes, they want all of those things. But you have to create shelter and places for people to go. And we gave everybody the optional chance. They didn't do that. And so we felt strongly that that needs to be mandated. So at the crux of Measure O originally was 1,100 beds, right? And built in such a way that when those are at capacity, then the city would do another tranche of support. And when those are at capacity, the city can do another tranche of support. All the while holding the county completely responsible for their role on mental health, social service, and sheltering support. Unfortunately, we were not able to run a measure at both the county and the city. I wish to God we could. I wish this was at both. I think the county has abdicated their responsibilities in an egregious way. But it does not mean that the city of Sacramento cannot hold themselves accountable to creating shelter locations. And then when that has been done, then absolutely, right? There are places where it's okay to camp and there are places where it's not. And when you have places for people to go, that is the appropriate time that you can say not here, but here. By consolidating those, we now have easier access for the county to be able to provide the mental health social service. And we are now actively negotiating that 4x2x2 agreement with the county to make them step up and do the job that they have refused to do for the last 20 years. So while it is not perfect, it is certainly progress.
Thank you, Amanda. Now I'd like to give Mark Marin 3 minutes to do his opening statement in opposition to Measure O.
Thank you, Walter, and thank you, Amanda. It's nice to meet you for the first time, I think. A lot of what you have to say is in agreement with my views. Obviously, there are too many homeless people out on their streets, and there are not adequate shelter beds available. But I don't think that this measure has anything to do with actually addressing the problem. And in fact, will complicate matters, will result in a huge waste of money, which I'll go into in a little more detail, and will not have anything to do with resolving the problem. So first of all, people should understand what Measure O is. It says, okay, any encampment of 4 people or more who are unrelated can be given notice that they have to leave and take one of a couple alternatives. One is a 70 square foot space somewhere undefined, not a shelter, not a bed, or they can take 100 square feet someplace also not specified where. And again, it's not a shelter and it's not a bed, and it has to be vacated during the daylight hours. Now, the third alternative relates to people who have vehicles, and it's essentially a safe parking space. And it says that, okay, if people are given notice that they have to leave and they don't take one of these alternative spaces, then they can be arrested. They can be forcibly removed, and they can be prosecuted. So if you think about it, what is actually going to happen? If you know anything about homeless people, they're not idiots. They're given a 14-day notice so that to move from where they are. All they have to do is move 5 feet one direction or another, and they thwart the whole concept. So it's not going to work. And if in fact people do move, they're just going to come back to where they are. So the alternatives are not attractive. 70 square feet is less than the space that's now afforded in these very compact safe grounds that the city created in Miller Park, for instance. Those tents are 10 feet square. So there's no place for bicycles or equipment. So the alternatives are not going to work. But what will happen is that money will be spent because, first of all, the ordinance will be attacked constitutionally. I know it's unconstitutional, and it doesn't comply with the laws that are now in force. And that's not just Martin versus Boise, but it's Johnson versus which grants pass, which just came down from the Ninth Circuit today, essentially validating, corroborating Martin versus Boise. And Martin versus Boise very simply said that you can't enforce anti-camping ordinances, anti-sleeping ordinances, anti-park exclusion ordinances, unless you can provide to homeless people a shelter bed. And these ordinances, this ordinance that is being proposed does not have anything to do with beds. So you're going to have at the front, you're going to have challenges to the constitutionality, the legality of Measure O. And on the backside, what you're going to have is more litigation and more expense as people refuse to move, and then they're sued. That's the kicker in this. Any private person who's offended by the presence of homeless people in his or her neighborhood can sue the city to enforce it and collect attorney's fees and costs. And the city has a maximum liability of $5 million.
Thank you, Mark. We're going to have to stop you there. Okay.
Did I run out of time? Because I don't see the time.
Can you see the sign?
No, it's not on my screen. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But okay, I'll stop.
Okay,
Now
we need it on your
I
screen.
have Charlene Cones saying stop. Okay, fine.
We need it on your screen for you.
Okay,
right.
got it.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to move on now to a list of questions. And because they may sound a little duplicative of your opening statements, Amanda and Mark, but they also will give you a chance, I believe, looking at them, to perhaps elaborate on some of the points you've already raised. So you'll have 1 minute each to address the questions. And I'm going to alternate, starting with one of you gets to answer the first question, then another person starts to answer the second question, okay? So I'd like to start with Mark. We'll start with the first question, which is, the measure sounds like it could jumpstart action and move people off the streets. Does it create new temporary shelter and secure camping locations? You have 1 minute.
If it moves people off the street, it's going to be very temporary, because people will be moved and then return. They have more space now on the street than is provided as an alternative. And these alternative shelter spaces are not beds. That means they don't comply with the constitutional requirements. And and this ordinance will be held up in court because of that fact alone. So it doesn't jumpstart anything. In fact, it misallocates funds so that those monies will be used to defend the ordinance and to defend the actions that are brought by persons who are offended by homeless people in their neighborhoods, and will not have any effect at all on providing shelter for homeless people.
Thank you, Mark. Amanda, you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. Well, we disagree on that. I mean, I think we believe that we are in very strong legal standing. So do know, right, a lot of this policy was built on the work done by the LA Alliance. They now have moved that through. And of course, right, with a decision like Boise, there are going to be challenges. But just because there are going to be challenges doesn't mean that we need to not move forward with smart policy. So we know that this is well-vetted policy. We know this is done by the state experts who worked hand in hand with Karen Larson at the Steinberg Institute to create good policy. It absolutely does create new shelter space. It is the only thing that is on the ballot that actually does require additional space. And the language has been built in such a way that the city has the latitude to do as they'd like. So if there are hotel rooms, if there is project room key, if there is permanent supportive housing, all of those are available. It simply begins at the lowest entry, the lowest barrier type of housing. So we've also heard from those in the homeless community that they would like what is happening at Miller Park, that they would like a safe place that they know that they can be, and this does that.
Thank you, Amanda. For the second question, I'd actually like to start with you, Amanda. Be your turn. And here is the question. Is there a difference between emergency shelter spaces, shelters, and temporary housing? And does Measure O require the city to provide any or all of these, and by when?
It's a great question. So again, the way that this was written very specifically is it is not right to begin enforcing if you do not have a place for people to go. So we wanted to give the city every tool in their toolkit to create whatever kinds of housing, whatever kinds of shelter, whatever kind of emergency space that you can afford and do. It is ridiculous that your city would tell you that they can't afford anything. Now, they may not be able to afford $1 million CalPERS building, and they may not be able to do that, but they certainly can designate safe space, and they certainly can provide services to people that need it when they do. Additionally, right, we will actively and continue to actively fight for dollars for permanent supportive housing. I mean, this is a housing crisis. It's a housing crisis in the state, it's a housing crisis throughout. So just because you're going to do this does not mean you're not going to do this. These are parallel paths, and we will push for emergency space so that we don't have large encampments outside of school sites, right? Outside of where children are walking to school, that's appropriate. It's not an appropriate place to be. We'll find you an appropriate place, but it does not mean that we will stop on every other housing type that we can find.
Thank you, Amanda. Mark, you have 1 minute for your response.
Yes, different terms are used to describe what could be shelter for homeless people. But what in fact is required if you're going to enforce any anti-camping ordinance is that there be shelter beds provided or available. That's what shelter means. That's what our local court has said in Warren versus Chico. And it's what the law is. And we don't have those beds provided anywhere. And what Miss Blackwell says is that, well, the city could do what it wants. Well, that's not true. The city can't just do what it wants. What it needs is private businesses and developers to actually build low-income housing. And instead, what they've done is to remove the requirement that 15% of the housing that's approved be for low-income people or affordable, and that's just not the case. We do need a strategy for housing, and this measure will not accomplish that. We need people who are really dedicated to figuring out how to solve the problem and putting their efforts to doing that, and it may mean reallocation of resources.
Your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. For the next question, Mark, you get to respond first. What would this measure cost the city's taxpayers if it passes?
Well, the city has negotiated with the business owners and the property owners who originally wrote Measure O to limit their own liability to $5 million. That's $5 million that they get to pay out to the people who sue the city because they're not doing anything. But it doesn't cap the amount that the city is going to have to pay in trying to defend this ordinance in the first place. And I would predict that the first thing that's going to happen is that there will be a lawsuit to enjoin the enforcement of this unconstitutional ordinance, and that will cost the city millions of dollars. So that money could better be spent on housing.
Thank you, Mark. Amanda.
Again, so the way that we constructed this is to give the city the flexibility to do what they need to do, that the subject matter experts can do what they need to do, but it did not create additional burden on the city that they couldn't afford. We do know that the city of Sacramento is already going to be in the red from a pension debt standpoint. We know that there are only 3 ways they make money, right? They get grants, they get property tax, they get sales tax, and it's just real. So when we sat down with our city manager and crafted smart policy, we said, Howard, what can this budget bear? And what is the gap? Because we deeply understand this is not a solution for everything. It's certainly not. This is an emergency triage response so that we can just stabilize folks in mandated shelter that the city has to create. We know it is the first step in many, many, many steps. But we also ask to quantify the gap because we will be the first to fight for infrastructure dollars from the state, from the federal government. They have more money than you ever seen in your life right now, if we can just get together. And I hope that when we get through this out, Mark and I, we can join hands and go fight for that money, because housing can only be underwritten when the dollars and cents make sense. And we have a housing crisis across the line. So again, short-term solution, triage solution, long game, and we're going to be in that fight for the long term.
Thank you, Amanda. This next question may actually, Amanda, give you a chance to even elaborate more. The question is, and you get to start first, this measure commits the city to funding obligations, but limits spending to $5 million. How can you fund everything in this measure?
So it's a great question. So I want to clarify, it doesn't limit their spending. they can spend as much as they want, right? General fund money. We raise $49 million a year in additional Measure U money. So it doesn't limit their spending, but it caps how much at minimum that we would require. So no, right, that was really that thinking, in that no one's trying to create that policy that's going to bankrupt your city. We're trying to create policy that you can actually implement, that you can implement in a fiscally responsible way. So again, there are no limitations. I also want to say you're not limited to 600 spaces. You're not limited to 2,000 spaces. If the city and the county, for Christ's sakes, can get their act together and work as the partners that they're supposed to, I hope that we have thousands of available spaces, and we will continue to work with our healthcare partners to get a mental health facility done. Because the fact that the state, I mean, we can go on for, I know Mark and I will agree on this. The fact that the state of California cut all of your mental health facilities, gave you a chunk of money, but yet reproduced nothing else. I mean, there is really nowhere for people to be treated that are experiencing, mental health. So it's going to take millions of dollars to get through this. It's going to be a long, long battle. This is just the first critical step.
Thank you, Amanda. Mark, you have 1 minute to respond to the question.
Well, it's true that there's no upper limit on what the city could voluntarily spend. But I'm telling you, if they actually try to enforce this ordinance, the first thing they're going to do is double or triple the amount of law enforcement officers they employ, because these are the ones who have got to deal with the situation, which is moving homeless people off of wherever they are and moving them again where they relocate, because they're sure as hell not going to go to these 70 square foot spaces. And then you have all the additional costs of trying to figure out who's related and who isn't related. I mean, the unintended consequences are that all the money that could be spent for housing is going to be devoted to law enforcement.
Thank you, Mark. The next question, Mark, you will get to answer first. The measure requires identifying a minimum number of shelter spaces based on the estimated number of homeless persons. What numbers are we talking about?
Well, thank you. I mean, the estimated number of homeless people in Sacramento is about 5,000. We know that's such an undercount that it's ridiculous. But the number of spaces that has to be provided is only 20% of that number. So I think we're talking about some 600 spaces or so. And those spaces, I just have to emphasize, they are spaces. They are demarcated squares somewhere in remote parking lots or fields. We have no idea, but there are no requirements for water or trash pickup or places to store your belongings. And in fact, what's going to happen is that we're going to spend a lot of money trying to inventory belongings for people who do move and storing those belongings.
Thank you, Mark. Amanda, you have 1 minute.
Well, would you mind re-asking the question? I had to hit my car.
Sure. I'll read. Here it is. The measure requires identifying a minimum number of shelter spaces based on the estimated number of homeless persons. What numbers are we talking about?
Great. So yes. So the logic in all of this was based on the pit count, and I 100% agree with Mark. It is a drastic undercount, but it is a data set that our community commits to and continues to do annually or biannually. So it gave us the opportunity to base policy in some kind of real data that we all can see, that we all have transparency into with Sac Steps Forward. The way that this policy was written is that you have to create space for 20% of the 60%. So I won't wonk out on it, but really done in a tranched way. So you are identifying in an area, you are creating, say you have your 600 spots, you now have your 600 spots, you can start going in and trying to relocate people and trying to connect them to services. So it's done in a chunk, right? And then once those beds are full and there's still a demand, if there is, if people don't want to take it, they don't have to, they're not taking it. But if they do, then we continue the next tranche and we continue the next tranche. So I understand the concern about we don't have specificity about the sites, but actually that's a huge opportunity that these sites could be everything that we hoped, with water, with services, with social service there. That is a possibility as well. All of those things are an option. This measure just gives you a foundation from which to build.
Thank you, Amanda. You get to start with the next question. Amanda, how does Measure O comply with requirements of the federal case Martin v. Boise when currently all shelters are full?
Right. So again, that is why mandating new capacity is a critical crux of this measure. This is not an enforcement measure only. And in all the candor, right? You pulled that, you could have run it. You could have run something in the city that was enforcement only, run it in county enforcement only. That's wrong. It is wrong to move to enforcement when you have not offered people a place to go. So the base of this measure is to require that the city actually move on designating safe space, and then, right, you can start to move forward with all of the other parts and all of the other components. I think it's critically important that we know that we're basing in that, and it scales up as there is need, it scales down as there is need, and our hope is that we are not creating a huge infrastructure to support emergency homelessness. We're simply triaging and stabilizing, getting our schools cleaned up, getting our sidewalks back in use, getting business back going so that we've got income into the city. And then we continue to fight the fight for permanent supportive housing. Doing this does not end that. It is only one piece.
Thank you. Mark, you have 1 minute for your response.
Yes, Martin versus Boise requires, as a precondition to enforcing ordinances that criminalize homeless people, and including the shelter, the anti-camping ordinance, and this Measure O, unless shelter beds are provided and available. Now, although Ms. Blackwood talks about shelter beds, the ordinance only requires shelter space. That is 70 square foot or 100 square foot spaces. These are not beds. They don't have any of the amenities that one would require and be provided in a shelter. So they do not comply with Martin versus Boise.
Thank you, Mark. The next question will be for Mark again. Can homeless people be removed from places where they obstruct others or interfere with use of public spaces?
There are criminal laws that can be used that apply in some instances. And if people are blocking a public way, yes, they can be moved. They're going to be moved on some kind of trespass statute or some other statute, but it'll be a criminal statute, not just because you don't like their presence. They have to actually be engaged in some kind of criminal activity or some kind of activity that violates the rights of others. And merely being homeless in a public place is not a violation of anybody else's rights.
Thank you, Mark. Amanda, did you respond?
Yes. So it's going to come down to a belief that there are some areas, physical areas, that it's okay to be in. There are others that are not. I'll let you know. My husband is a school teacher. He has been teaching in South Sac for the last 20 years. He teaches middle school. These are young women, and they are currently walking through a massive encampment. They're being solicited. There's methamphetamine sales. There are open-air drug sales, and they're having to take weapons out of young girls' backpacks because their parents are sending them with knives to school so that they can walk safely. Okay, that's illogical. That is not okay, right? There are areas that are safe and there are areas that are not. So what we expect in the implementation of Measure O is that is done with integrity and that is done appropriately. There are certain areas around schools, around churches, around business districts. It's not an appropriate place. And it is okay to say, this is not an appropriate place, but this is. And that is simply what we are saying. These areas, we're going to focus on safety. We're going to focus on kids. We're going to focus on keeping it clean and safe. We're going to get our convention business back, and we're going to save our downtown. But here's a place that you can go, and that is an appropriate location.
Thank you, Amanda. We have time for one more question before you do your closing statements. And that question, Amanda, you get to address first. The question is, the measure enables residents who claim harm by illegal camping to file legal complaints against the city. Will this cost city taxpayers?
So hypothetically, yes, but here's the place we're coming from, and this is real life. This is talking with city staff and council. There should never be an instance in which that kind of lawsuit has to go the distance, right? This is simply the exact same thing that the city does to a private property owner. If you know, right, we've Union Pacific, one of our clients. If there is blight on a Union Pacific property, if there is an encampment that causes issues on a Union Pacific property, they are fined by the city to have to do something about that. This is the exact same concept. City, if you won't do your job, if you won't step in when we need you to, people got to have some kind of recourse. Throwing your hands up in the air, having a 67% increase, having crime skyrocketing, having our city be dirty and throwing your hands up and going, oh, there's nothing we can do about it, it's not acceptable. So if we need to create some stick for the city to do what they need to do, that is the exact same policy that they currently impose on the private business sector, we felt that that was fair, appropriate, and is holding them accountable to the exact same standards that the business community is held accountable to.
Thank you, Amanda. Mark, you have 1 minute for your response.
Well, first of all, Ms. Blackwell talks about drugs and threats and guns and amphetamines, and that somehow this ordinance is going to affect that. That's not true at all. We have criminal laws that should be enforced to stop the activity that she's complaining about. As far as the cost to the city for responding to these lawsuits, which citizens will bring, yes, that is a huge cost, and it's going to be the $5 million. That's where that money's going to go. It's going to go into the private hands of attorneys who sue the city because they're not going to be able to destroy and remove these encampments. Martin versus Boise is not going to allow that, and that's going to result in enjoining the enforcement of Measure O in the first place.
Thank you, Mark. That's it for the prepared questions we have for you. I appreciate both of your candid responses. We'll now begin with an opening statement from Amanda in support of Measure O, and followed by a statement from Mark Marin. You have 1 minute, Amanda.
All right, well, thank you so much. And again, we can answer a million other questions that you may have, but I guess I want to frame it in this, is we are dealing with a crisis. And I don't know if it's the frog boiling in the water thing where it just happened so slow that we didn't realize it. But if I snap my fingers today and I told you there are 10,000 unsheltered people, there are 7,500 folks with severe mental illness that need support, there are thousands of people with drug use that need help, there are thousands of people that need emergency shelter, we would have FEMA in here, we would be responding like you've never seen, right? The lack of action at our city council is unacceptable. The lack of action at the county supervisors is as well. So don't think that they're off the hook, that's still coming. But what I believe is that this is possible. This is an emergency response to an emergency that we are seeing. Our homeless population in Sacramento is the highest in the nation. And inaction, status quo, trying to find the perfect and not acting until we do is simply not an option for our community anymore. Not for those that are struggling and not for those that are trying to make a go of it. So I believe that all things are possible. I believe that we can shelter our folks. And I believe that Measure O is going to get you to the place that's going to create real change.
Thank you, Amanda. Mark, you now have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Certainly. Thank you for having me and allowing this measure to be debated. This is a distraction. This Measure O is a distraction. It does nothing to create housing, and that's what we need to do. We have a lot of construction going on in the city. Why don't we have a requirement that a certain percentage be affordable or low income housing? Why don't we ask the experts of how are we going to provide mental health care? How are we going to provide rehabilitation for people who have addiction issues? Why don't we spend our money in a way that actually helps the people instead of just increasing the amount of law enforcement designed to move people around? This is the same old thing that we've been doing, and we know it has failed. We need more money in housing. That's the answer. Low income housing.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks to both of you, actually, for participating in this pro-con forum. Also want to thanks to the National Women's Political Caucus for hosting, and Maria for her technical help that made this Zoom forum possible. The forum has been recorded and will be rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. It will also be available on YouTube for wide distribution. Contact Metro Cable or forums@lwvsacramento.org to receive the link. I'm glad that Charlene is putting that up on the screen. You can check out your personal ballot and get nonpartisan voter information about the candidates and issues at voters.edge.org.